In this video, I'll walk you through how I set up my system to pull trending topics, generate content, and post it directly on LinkedIn on autopilot. Here's the outcome: 77 impressions, 90 impressions, 88 impressions, 176 impressions. Every day the system pulls hot topics from Perplexity AI, sends it to ChatGPT to write high engaging posts, then pushes the final version straight to the LinkedIn feed. So let's break down the system step by step. So the first module that you would need will be Perplexity AI, and the model that I'm using is Sonar. Now Perplexity has made some changes. Sonar is the one that I'm using for now. Now you will need to prompt Perplexity based on the industry that you're in, the outcome that you need, the data that you need, so on and so forth. Now this system is built for a finance company, so the data that I'm getting for them is the market trends, what's the price action in stocks, so on and so forth, volatility, risk sentiment, you name it. So I get a lot of data that Perplexity does the research for me. And then once the data is generated, then also what I do is just to get the right pricing. Now this is something that you may or may not need depending on the industry that you're in, but I have an API key from a company that gives me the right pricing as well. Now this is for finance-based companies that is extremely specific to trading. Next thing that you would want to do is you would want to put GPT module, and this is how you set this up. Now I will also show you how to set your Perplexity AI account. So basically what you will need to do is go to the module and press add, and then you're going to put your API key in here. Now how do you get your API key? So first things first is Google Perplexity AI. You would need to sign in your account. If you haven't made an account already, go ahead and proceed to do that, please. And then you will need to press this cog, and then this is going to take you to this sort of page, and then you would see a section called workspace, and then it would have your API keys in there. Now you would need to put a couple of dollars in there in order to actually generate a key and use it. So yeah, you can start by $5. It doesn't really cost a lot. And then once that is done, you would then press generate, and then you would have a key, and then you just copy and paste it into the workflow, and that is it. Okay, now once that is done, you would then add GPT module to it. Now HTTP module to get more data is completely optional. You don't have to. I'm just doing this because it's for a finance-based company. Now with this GPT module, it's pretty simple and straightforward. Now you will need to connect to your account, so I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's just press add. Once you press add, it's the same thing again. You need your API key. You don't really need organization ID, but API key is something that you would need. So again, what you would do is go and search OpenAI API, okay? And then it will take you to this page where it says API platform. If you click on API platform, you would then need to log in. Now do not log in to go to ChatGPT. We do not need the LLM model. We need the API platform to get the API keys. So click API platform. Once in the platform, either it would ask you to sign in or create an account, whichever the case may be. Proceed to do that. And once you're inside this platform, you would see a page similar to what I'm seeing. And then you would click on this section on the very top left corner of the page itself. Now what this section is, it allows you to sift through the projects that you're working on. Now I'm working on quite a few projects at the minute. If you are not working on any, you will need to then create a project, okay? And once you do create a project, I'm just going to create something like, let's just say sample for this video. And then I'm going to create the project. Once the project is created, then you're going to click and select it. Now, if this is your first project, you don't need to do that. And then you're going to manage projects, okay? Once you click on that, it will take you to a page similar to what I'm seeing. And then you would have the section called organization. And in this section, you'll be able to find your API keys, okay? So it already has taken me to that page. If you can't see this page, so just click on API keys and it will take you to the same exact page. Now I already have a few keys. I'm not going to generate a new one, but I'm going to show you how to do that. So you will press on create new secret key, top right corner of the screen. Now you will need to name this. So I'm just going to say LinkedIn, okay? And then you're going to select which project is this going to go to. Just for your own organization purposes, you don't have to. Okay, so I'm just going to say default project or sample, okay? Once I select that, then I'm going to press create secret key. Once the key is generated, you're then going to save it somewhere safe, because you will not be able to go back and refer or copy the key again from the OpenAI platform. That's something that is unfortunate. It's just for your own safety, so bear in mind the moment that you create a new secret key, copy and paste that somewhere safe, okay? And once you have the key, you will need to go back to the OpenAI module and then paste your key here, okay? I'm not going to do that. Everything is already connected. And then you will need to select the method which is create a chat completion. Now there's multiple modules to select from, so let's just see which ones. You would need, OpenAI. So you will need a create a completion prompt, okay? So that's the one that you're going to use. Now I didn't mention for Perplexity AI, so you will need to do the same for here as well. So it will be create a chat completion. This is exactly the same as OpenAI, okay? Now how to map this module, so you will need to select ChatGPT for a latest system. Sam Altman is actually making a new one. There's multiple ones that keep coming out, but again, this is all about following the trend and what's the latest. So the one that I'm using is ChatGPT for a latest system. You can use any that you want. This is something that I would recommend. And then the next thing that you need to do is you are going to click on add message. I've already have filled the details. I'm just showing you this to help you guys. So the role that you will select will be of system. You don't need it to be user or assistant. It will definitely give you errors. Don't ask me why. Just select system, okay? Once you select that, then you're going to prompt this GPT module. This will be depending on the industry that you're in, the work that you're doing, the type of post that you would want on LinkedIn. One thing I would highly recommend for you guys to do is there's something that people do miss out on. You will need to feed the data of the previous modules to this GPT module. If you don't do that, ChatGPT is going to generate a random outcome and your post will not be consistent based on actual real data, okay? So I'll show you what I've done. So at the very end of my prompt, I've given it 3 important things. So the first things first is take the data, the real market news from HTTP, because that's where I'm getting my data from. Completely optional depending on the industry that you're in. But what's something that I would ask you to do is about ChatGPT module with the output from Perplexity. That's something that you would have to do. So structured Perplexity AI summaries, I'm just telling it what this is. And then once you click on this prompt section, it will then allow you to just drag and drop the data that you need from previous modules. So in this section, you're going to go down and select choices. And then in choices, you would have this section called message. Once you do that, you'll be able to see this content section. You're going to just drag and drop that here, okay? And that is it. That's all you need to do. And then the final thing that you would and should do is tell it to make sure that the data that is being used is fresh and up to date. Why do I say this? Because it may also randomly just take data from two months ago or 6 months ago or even a year ago. That's something that I personally experienced. So it's best if you map your or prompt these LLM models with this bit by saying ensure the data uses fresh and up to the date. Now how do you select and tell that the time should be now? That will be from this calendar, okay? So at the very top you're going to go and select the calendar, and then the variables that you're going to drag and drop will be now, and that is it, okay? Very simple. Also suggest you to do the same for Perplexity if you are in a industry which requires the data to be fresh. Now ideally we all should be on top of the trends, but again some people like to post about history and so on and so forth, so that's not needed. So I always say them to have the accurate and most up-to-date data by following the exact same process that I just showed you. If you were to do this for Perplexity, it would be no different. So just go on and select the calendar and map the variable this way. Just copy, drag and drop, okay? Once that is said and done, you would have your first initial version ready. Now this alone is not enough. Why do I say this? Is because every social media platform has their own limitations. For example, if you're doing this for let's just say X or Twitter, it wouldn't allow you to have more than 250 characters, okay, per post. Same with LinkedIn as well, it has certain limitations. So I've added another GPT module. You're going to then select another create a completion module, okay, and we will map this exactly the same way that we have done for the previous module of OpenAI. So that will be, go ahead, add your connection. If you shouldn't have to do this if you already have done it once. It would automatically take the same connection. And then what you would need to do will be the select method will be create chat completion. Again, simple stuff. The model will be ChatGPT for latest. And then this again, the role would be of a system or developer, and the text content will be identify the output, whatever the output is, from the ChatGPT module. Okay, so now this time we're going to take the data from OpenAI. Okay, and then how do you do that? This is pretty simple. So it would have this thing called result. Okay, just drag and drop. That is it. That's all you need to do. And then what do I ask it to do next is create another output without any headings, emojis, asterisks, or however that you say it, or hashtags. Because GPT has a tendency to, create output utilizing these things. It's very messy, doesn't look good, doesn't look professional, doesn't look like someone has written it themselves. So we just cleaning the data, essentially. That's what we did. And once this is generated, then you're going to add your LinkedIn module. And just to do that, you will need to search in LinkedIn, and then you would have to select either create a user text post, or will we create an organization text post. Now, what does this mean? So some people would have their own personal profiles, and then in their personal profiles, they would have the organization that they're managing. Okay, so if you are someone who has an organization and a personal profile, so select the create an organization text post. If you're someone who wants to post on their own personal profiles, then create a user text post. That's what you would need to do. Okay, that's the only difference between the two. And how to this will be, so you will need to press add, connection type will be LinkedIn, just the simple stuff. The moment that you press save, it would ask you to log into your LinkedIn. So I'm just going to show you how to do that. I've just pressed save, and then it asked me to just sign in with my email ID and password. So that's all. Okay, simple stuff. Once that is done, it would already auto-populate the connection, and nothing else needs to be done. And then the following step will be the content that we are posting will be from the previous OpenAI module. You're just going to click on here. For some reason it's not allowing me to do because I was trying to add a connection. So hold on, let's try again. So yeah, so the moment that you click it, it would give you these options to select from. We don't need the previous OpenAI modules in this situation. We need the most recent one because that's the one with the clean data. For an example, let me just show you. So the result with this one has a hashtag in front. I don't want that. I want it to be clean. Okay, in this one there's no hashtag. Why? Because we prompted it to give us a clean output. So this is the one that we need. Okay, so just drag and drop, and that's all. And yeah, next thing will be just the simple stuff. So the media type, do not do article, do not touch it, it's fine. Only worry about the one that you have to. So the visibility should be public. You can do this for only your connections as well. So let's just say if you have the very important data to share, you don't need it to go public, just select only my connections. Okay, and the other one as well, just depends. Just go and do your own research and see which one fits the best for you. And then the feed distribution should be main feed, of course. And that is it. The moment that you save it, the whole thing will be ready, and then you can just give it a custom schedule. The one that I've done is for Tuesdays and Fridays at 5 p.m. You can do 7 days a week, every hour, just depends. And yeah, that is it. So the model is complete. You don't need to do anything else. Just schedule it the way that you want it to be. Thank you so much for watching the video, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.